Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Um, Welcome, guys, to another round of football talk here in New Mexico. Got a great guest tonight, back judge Tyree Walton. Could you move our opening page there, Dennis, so I can look at Tyree's resume, which is like crazy impressive. Tyree started calling football back in 2008. In 16, he was RMAC Football Official of the Year. Worked semifinals, Division II national championships. In 16, he also gave his first taste of D1 football, working a couple of Mountain West and Southland games at back judge. In 17, he was called up by Greg Burks to the Mountain West Conference for a full-time center judge. Worked a conference championship game in the Military Bowl. Tyra was fortunate enough to work 6 games at back judge before the league ended in the XFL. Big 12 conference. That's where he's officiating at now, or going to be in the fall. Um, Family man, semi-pro football. Um, I've had him in other webinars so far this year. You guys, he's down to earth, and you can ask him any question. Don't hesitate. Don't think it's dumb. The guys will answer any questions that we come up with. And Tyree, it's all yours. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. Tyree, you're muted.
Ken. All right. Listen, look at that. Thank you for those kind words. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
You got me? Okay, perfect. Well, you had to go to the kind of the black hole now, which is the XFL. So the past 2 seasons, I've been fortunate enough to work the spring ball, which was the Alliance of American Football, and the XFL, and both of those leagues have ended abruptly. So I'm starting to feel that it might just be me now at this point. So some things we just can't control. But once again, thank you guys for having me on. It's really a special treat for me to join the call. I think it's kind of an open forum on what you guys were looking for from myself and from the back judge perspective. But it sounds like it's a initiative in New Mexico for mechanics and philosophies surrounding the back judge position. So what I went ahead and did is I put a PowerPoint together just to share a few thoughts around really the game and the current state of football, how we can prepare ourselves as football officials and as back judges specifically. So we'll dive into that. Also talk about probably our number one call, some DPI stuff, and if we have time, we'll go into some scrimmage kick mechanics and then open it up for questions. And as I go through the PowerPoint presentation, please, you guys stop me, ask any questions, and really just make this kind of an open-ended conversation. Does that work? So give me a second here while I move this over to this screen. Hold on. Sorry. Hold on. Screen one, share. All right, here we go. Ken, Dennis, can you guys see that?
Yes, we can. And we appreciate you taking your time tonight, Tyree. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I love doing this stuff, and I'll be happy to join you guys anytime. So first of all, I thought this was just a funny picture of me, because really here in this picture, this was in the Alliance of American Football, the AAF last year. And as you guys can see, I am bundled up to a T, and it was probably maybe 30, 40 degrees outside. So I do not play when it's cold. I'm too small for that. So I think it's look good, feel good and feeling good is being warm and officiating. So don't judge me here, and also don't judge the PowerPoint presentation. So not the greatest, but we'll go through it. And like I said, everything that I have tonight has been taught to me or taught by other great officials, and I'm just happy to pass that knowledge down. So again, current center judge, but really grew up and have a fine passion for the back judge position. So first of all, I think it's always good for us to take a step back and really just understand and give ourselves a perspective on what the current state of officiating is. And so we can go into the season, the off season with an open mind and really understanding the game. We want to know, the game that we're playing, the game that we're officiating. And so I threw this slide up here really to give us an understanding that games today are extremely competitive like no other. Fan bases are passionate. I had a client meeting 2 days ago now. He coaches come to find out, he coached at a local high school here, and then he's like sitting there drawing up plays for me, telling me about the tight end was covered up and the officials didn't get it during the season. So I think he's just passionate about football and wants to get it kicked back off. But I can just see from his voice just how much passion that coaches have for the game, obviously fans, and we do as well for as officials. Everyone, from top to bottom is under pressure to, get plays right, whether that's to score touchdowns or just get plays right from an officiating standpoint. Now, I know the high school officials. You can tell me if you guys are starting to use the O2O, the official to official communication in the high school game in New Mexico. Is that right?
Yes, we just got that passed to officially use them. We were sneaking them in anyway, but yeah, now we know how valuable they are.
Right. Okay. So again, and so whether it's that kind of communication, whether it's replay, as you move up to different levels, technology is so prevalent in our game today. And then whether it's your local news or commentating, media and it's just brutal. So we're going to be critiqued and analyzed for everything that we do on the football field. And then really, most games or many games now, especially conference games, they're high profile games. We've created a lot of rivalries, and a lot of plays are just decided on the last play of the game. So I kind of wanted to just dive in here. And so with this current state of football, we are judged as officials by two things. Number one, how we manage a game and how we finish the game. So we can work 3.5 really, really good quarters, but that last 5 minutes, last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, and even going into going into halftime are really critical of how we are viewed as officials and how we work the game. So just keep that in mind, because those are the 2 points that I'm going to try to touch on as much as I can as we go through these slides. So the first thing first is we have to be mentally and physically prepared to work a game, and and I wanted to share something with you guys before I actually dove into this slide. Dennis and Ken, you guys might have saw this, and I thought it was really prevalent to share about the current state that we're in our lives, not just officiating, especially for the coronavirus and everything that is going on. Most of us, our last games were in November and December of last year, and typically we would be working some spring ball and or fall scrimmages or anything that getting out to practices and doing that sort of thing to keep our muscle memory up. And so a gentleman by the name of Brad Robinson actually sent out an email yesterday, and I thought it would be awesome to share with this group. And Ken, you might have saw this as well. So I'm going to read it because I think really important for us to note as officials. We could be off this time frame that we're going to have next 9, we could be off 9 months, 10, 11, up to maybe even 15 months of no football. But we do have to be ready once our number is called to take that field. And our bodies are so important. And so we want to prepare ourselves, obviously mentally. So the things we're doing now on these WebEx and the conference calls, but also physically. So we can, quote unquote, knock the rust off before the game starts. So I'm just going to read what Brad sent out yesterday, because I thought it really is be pretty beneficial for our conversation tonight. So basically it says here, how do we best prepare for the unknown? This is likely going to be the longest off season of everyone's career. Most great officials have 3 things down pat: rules, film, and off-season conditioning. And this is an important part of our fall season preparation. So during this time, what I am most concerned about is something that we all need to think about, plan for, and control. Planning on how to best work our muscle memory during this extended time period is crucial. No gym can simulate a football field and the amount of movement a football official travels within a game. We must get in field work. So many successful officials get this critical field work during the summer months, and now more than ever, we need to endorse this aspect of preparation. With no spring ball this year and the prediction of potentially no late summer or early fall ball, all officials need to schedule time each week, several times each week, to get to a football field or similar and simulate their position movements. So start with the quick kickoff, simulate the movement of the kickoff, transition into scrimmage plays, one after another, simulate chains, balls, even interacting with coaches. What are you going to say to them if they're asking you questions, and how are you going to respond to that? Move your bodies by closing, transitioning, sliding, backpedaling with quick burst, all while focusing your eyes and not allowing them to bounce. I've taken, and he puts in here, he's taken pylons and other items out as a point of focus so he can work on snaps from the 40-yard line and in. So you're working on getting to the goal line and breaking down and gliding to the goal line for other officials. Do this 20 to 30 minutes or more per day. So we need to prepare to potentially be away from the game. He says, hopefully I'm wrong, but this could mean upwards of 10 to 15 months from the field for most officials. That is far too much of a gap for our muscle memory, especially for younger officials, as well as seasoned officials whose bodies aren't really getting much younger. Well, he also had a good point down here. It says, what is a trap? So traps are us thinking about where I need to be on a play, or when should I get to the goal line? What's that position? So our muscle memory, the more time that we are off and not involved in the game of football, the more our muscle memory starts to fade. So I challenge everyone on the call. I challenge myself to make this off season and dedicate ourselves this off season, probably unlike any other off season we've ever had, to get out there and get snaps physically, essentially. As Brad says, stopping hard, backpedaling, turning and running, visualizing us watching our keys, visualizing a DPI or an OPI, or what that looks like, visualizing getting to the goal line, stopping, and because if we don't, the fear is obviously we're going to be mentally fatigued, and we're not going to be able to manage the game and especially finish the game from a fitness standpoint how we would like to. And then the worst case scenario, we can get injured if we're not out there working and moving our body. So I'm sure many people are on the call are doing that. But I thought that was just a good, thing to share, to just as a reminder that let's make that a focus as we continue down this path of football. So, any questions there? Anything? I don't want to just keep blabbing.
Well, glad you brought that up. I hadn't thought about doing that. I mean, I'm dieting and running, but certainly not doing muscle memory. So that's great.
Sure. Yeah. Because especially for me, and I'm a center judge right now, full time in the Big 12, and it feels like, and I don't know if it's just me, that rust, even the more work that we put into the off season, I always feel like I have rust, especially that first game, and I'm turning and twisting a lot, and the same thing is when I worked in the XFL at back judges. That first game, your body is just beat up because we're not used to having that movement or those similar movements for 2-3 hours at a time. So the more that we can do that and prepare ourselves, just the more our bodies are going to feel better essentially after we work the game. So just a good reminder. But again, this is preparation is everything in life and in officiating. And so that's why we're going to just spend the majority of this time, because everything that we do leading up to a game is going to make our game just better, more well-rounded, and better officials, better crewmates, the whole nine. So the other thing at a recent clinic that I was fortunate to go to, Greg Burks, if you guys don't know, he is the coordinator of the CFO West, and that consists of the Southland Conference, the Mountain West Conference, and the Big 12 Conference. And so he said something really crucial in regards to preparation that I thought was powerful, and it felt like best to pass that on as well. So basically, he said officiating is a three-legged stool. It's a strong, sturdy three-legged stool, and if one of those stools are off, it's going to cause us to be off as officials, as back judge, whatever position we're working. And that three-legged stool is our rules knowledge, our philosophies, and our mechanics. So, but he also kind of circled back and said, we have too many damn lawyers, so excuse me if there's any lawyers out there, too many damn lawyers in this conference as well, because the easiest thing that we can do as officials is call everything that we see by the book. So that's why we have philosophies in place to understand when things essentially are a foul and when things are not a foul. So, one of the philosophies I was thinking about, and I'll just be honest with you, this is from a high level officiating perspective that I'll dive into tonight. I don't know, and I'm not gonna try to kid myself or kid you guys to know the exact high school rules, but as officials, you have to ask yourself, when was the last time that I or we read the rule book from front to back, start to finish, not stopped and took the test or anything, just literally read the rules from start to finish. Because once we get to the field, coaches expect us to know the rule, to be an expert in rules or not. And you guys are like me, and we're not all experts in the rules, but that is the expectation that we are held to. So if that is the expectation that we're held to, we should be trying to do everything that we can to meet that expectation. And right now we have time, and simply reading the rule book is one heck of a start. I'll also share my experience here. It's funny when you guys hear officials, or especially coming up, you'll hear from different officials say, you never know when you are going to be the quote unquote rule guy on the crew. So whether it's a freshman or JV game, especially for me, I'm like, okay, well, Tim has it down packed. And so, but Tim, you might not work with that individual every week. So you never really know when that time is going to come where you're going to be the rule guy. So hopefully, and then I'll try to jump around, and once I'll circle back to that, because what I'll tell you is when that happened for me, it was probably my first Division I game where I think propelled me into a high realm with Greg Burks, and in D1 is where I was able to nail a rule, especially from the back judge position, because we are essentially, quote unquote, the referees of the deep officials and referees of the defensive side of the ball. So then, like I said, circling back, philosophies are there, so we know when to call a foul and when not, or just general philosophy. So a general back judge philosophy. I'll challenge you guys. Do you know all the philosophies in the high school, kind of CCA mechanics manual? One of the ones here, simple as, if an interception is near the goal line and there's a question to whether the possession is gained in the field of play or in the end zone, make it a touchback. So it sounds pretty simple, but those are things, the more that we understand the philosophies of football, the easier that we can breathe and we can eliminate surprises, essentially. So something I've always told, and especially I think Greg Burke says it really, really well, there's no surprises in football. There shouldn't be any surprises in football. Coaches know exactly what their players are going to do on every single play. So, if we have a crossing route and there's two receivers coming across and one picks the defender and the other is free to catch the ball, the coach is going to come to you and say, we don't coach that, or that's not how we drew it up. We have to understand that everything is coached. That play was drawn up. Maybe they weren't supposed to pick that defender, but unfortunately, that's what happened in that play. So we have to understand that. And again, so philosophies are part of that stool that we have to have, and it has to be down packed. And then again, mechanics, we'll touch on that as well. Mechanics are as simple as, are you in the right position and are you looking where you're supposed to be looking at the right time? And so again, people can teach rules, can teach philosophies, but if you're out of position, you're going to get plays wrong, and that's just a fact. So the more that we can get snaps, so we can develop our muscle memory, so we can ensure we're in the right position at the right time, it's going to make us even stronger as official, and especially from the back judge position. And then again, back judges, Jesus, and especially in high school football, run a ton. And so fitness is crucial. Once our mind starts going and we're thinking about other things, typically that affects our game, and our game tends to waver, and we're not as effective as we should be. So that's a huge focus. And if anyone is on the call that's looking to move up, just in the general scope of officiating, fitness in general is a key component. How you look. Do you look the part to be put on the field? Do you have an athletic build, an athletic look? Because that, gives credibility right away. And then again, clock management. Clock management throughout the game. Back judge, we're a crucial element in clock management, and especially when we get down to those tight end of game situation, clock management even becomes more important. So again, preparation prior to the season is something that we need to do to focus on. So, Ken, Dennis, anybody else?
No, man,
Have
taking notes.
any questions or thought around preparation?
I'm just taking notes, man. It's good stuff. Anybody else want to jump in with a question?
Riney Williams just sent me something to approve. So what's up, Riney?
Yeah, you're good.
You out there?
You're gonna.
I said that right? All right. Oh, so then I always think this one is interesting, and so I'll kick it out to the group. Does anyone know when we have the most, let's say, call it lack of concentration or lack of preparation within a game? When do we lose focus or have a lapse in concentration the most as game officials?
I would say when you have a blowout game.
That's a good
During
one.
a
That's a good
during
one.
during a timeout.
Good. Yep. Anybody else? Take a stab at it?
The very first play.
I would say the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter.
I'm going to say after you throw a flag, the next 5 to 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's a good point. How do we regain focus after we throw a flag or after we kick a call? So we can touch on that. We could touch on that later, but actually the answer is, surprisingly enough, it's the first 5 minutes of the third quarter is when collectively as officials we lose the most concentration, and then we kind of rev ourselves back up to finish the game strong, and then obviously if the game becomes a blowout, we may start to lose some focus. But really, on average, through all games, whether it's competitive or non-competitive, we lose focus essentially because why? We go to halftime, we get our Snickers, or we have a break, and we kind of everything just kind of we can breathe a little bit, right? And so coming back out to that third quarter, whether it's a blowout, whether it's not, our concentration level tends to go down. So it's good to know that. So we can do something. And after I made myself aware of that, I would say a couple of years ago, I made that a point and a priority to do something to regain focus. But it always comes after a failure. We usually make changes after a failure. And so actually the first season I was hired as a center judge, probably game 4 or 5, I'm feeling really good about myself. First half was going smooth. And then literally the opening drive of that second half is like my line of scrimmage guy, and I'm in the middle of the field. He's just like raining flags on my head. I got the running back face mask got thrown off, and I realized I came out of halftime not ready and not prepared to work a football game. So again, that's just a part of preparation. Everyone's going to be different, but I would just again challenge each person on the call to do something when you come out of halftime after your body's relaxed, whether that's a quick warm up again, to do something to regain focus. Okay. Ronnie, I still got you up there, man. I'm loving it.
Yeah, I just typed to him that we can't hear him. He's going to put his question in on the chat room.
Okay. Now my PowerPoint stopped somehow. Hold on, there we go. I think whatever he did messed up my screen a little bit here, though. Okay.
Dennis, can you take that back over for a second to reset it?
I'm gonna stop sharing, and then I'll reshare it.
Okay, what's the problem? I walked out for a minute. What's going on, Ken?
There we go. Okay, I'm good.
We're good, Dennis.
Okay.
All right, Ken, you good? You guys got me back?
We got you.
And again, perfect. And again, please stop me if there's any questions in regards to preparation, maybe some things I personally, I do. Whatever you guys want to know, listen, I'm all ears. Don't want to just spit everything out and literally make this kind of a two-way street, and just happy to help and give some experience. So again, we'll transition from obviously off-season preparation essentially to now pregame preparation. So there's a lot of things as officials that we do really to just get ourselves to work a snap and work a football game. But from the back judge position specifically, I'll say that the first thing off the bat when you show up to a stadium to work a game, check all of the clock locations. That, I know we've all heard that and we all know it, but just put it on your game card. Even put some of the pre-game routine things on your game card so you don't forget. I will tell the honest truth. I think it was our second game in the XFL, just a few months ago now. This is one thing, maybe caught up in the moment, forgot to check the clock locations, especially where the play clock was. That after the opening kickoff, that first or second play, now I know I have the play clock, and now I'm trying to look and find and locate the play clock. It just changes the chemistry in your body to say, oh crap, then everything starts playing. I didn't look for the clocks. I don't know where it is. Maybe you locate it and pick it up quick, but now you're thinking, as a visual, what else did I forget? What else am I not prepared for? Am I not even prepared to work this game? Like, did I not do my scouting report and all the other little things that could be going through our minds as simply for just not checking our clock location. So again, pregame preparation is going to make our on-field game so much better. Another thing, literally that I struggle with, even at the center judge position, I'm responsible for the opening half and second half kickoff game ball. But if you guys are honest, and like me, almost every time we have, game ball people that are hard to track down, or they're off doing whatever, especially at halftime. They lose focus as well, right? You maybe going seeing what new hot girls are running around. And so have a conversation, an open-ended, conversation with them and let them know how important their job is and the expectation where you can meet them for the opening kickoff and the second half kickoff game ball. Because we never know who is watching. And the worst thing is if we're starting a kickoff late, or we're starting the opening half kickoff late. And so as at all levels of officiating, they monitor the game time of how long our games are. And so at the college football ranks, we try to keep them at 3 hours, just under 3 hours. And I'm sure there's a time element there where in high school football where you guys want the game times to be. So no one wants to have a 4-hour game because it just plays into the safety of the players and us as officials too. So, and so we're judged and critiqued on our game time. And as back judges, we play a crucial element of that, of how we're getting in and out of timeouts, and how efficient are we managing the game and just getting the damn kickoff ball. It plays wonders. So again, simple here is meet with the play clock and game clock operators prior to the game. Again, something that we've all talked about, but it's crucial for us to do. I know some of the venues that we go to, we may not always get a play clock or game clock operator there on time for us to communicate with, but I'm pretty sure that's the expectation for them. So it's highly important to just have a quick couple-minute conversation with those operators. So, Ken, I'm going to kick it back to the call, because I like to hear if there's a brave soul out there that will go through a back judge, maybe a seasoned back judge, for all of us to understand, what do you say to let's say the play clock operator or the game clock operator when you meet them prior to the game?
I'm going to see if Sean will take this one.
Oh, Sean, he must be the money man in New Mexico.
Hey, sorry, I'm driving. This is Sean. I'm still driving home.
That's no problem, Sean. I appreciate you coming on. He was just talking about what we're going to have a discussion to the play clock operator about before game time.
So I give him basically a little piece of paper that says, here's the expectations. We're pretty lucky in Albuquerque in terms of when we hit the same stadiums, we generally have the same clock operator. I'll ask him if there's been any issues with it. High school level, I tend to ask them if they know the mercy rule and what the clock is to hit the mercy rule. But, really it's just a reconfirmation of what the expectations are, and to make sure that they're watching us and our mechanics and they follow it. And I always find out who we can contact them from the field. If they can't seem to read our hand signals, who on the sideline might have a headset, and that we can contact the clock operator.
Boom, that's money. I like that, Sean, and I think that's obviously you sound like a seasoned official and back judge, and well said. I got some advice to communicate with the play clock operator a long time ago that it was helpful for me, especially communicating with individuals. As Sean mentioned, we go to the stadium, you're going to hear that guy, I've been doing this for 25 or 30 years or whatever, that's great. So actually a guy in the NFL just said, start to develop rapport. Sometimes when you go to a game site and you talk to these operators, and a lot of times it can come off as we're barking out orders to the people that are running the game clock, and they play such a critical element in the efficiency and the game management as we've touched on to our games. So what I like to say personally is, whatever name, hey Jim, tell me how you're going to work the game today. And so to Sean's point, Jim may be doing it for 25 years and literally may cover everything that we have on our sheet, and he just nails it as money. And then we can also thank him, thank you, Jim. You are an important part of the crew. If you work the game as you said it, as you just elaborated, we're going to have a stellar and fantastic game. And if, let's say, Jim missed on a couple of points that Sean just hit on, they'd say, okay, thanks, Jim. Love how you're going to work the game. Just a reminder, let's say if one of the play clocks go down, just shut both of the play clocks off, and I'll take it on the field or something like that. So instead of we don't want to go and bark out orders. I think it's more of a relationship building effect when we can really truly get them on our team and make them feel truly a part of the crew, because at the end of the day, they really are. Does anyone have any thoughts on that, or doing anything different?
There's a quick question in the chat room while we have a break. We will use rookie officials as clock operators and have them with an O2O as well. Can they hear what's happening during the game, and we can make any clock corrections as necessary? So basically, that was more of a statement to the question, but it was a good statement.
Yeah, that's stellar. Well, take that all out the window then, and just whip those rookie officials in shape. I'm kidding. Don't do that. And then again, moving on here is obviously on the sunny day. Remind your punt returners of the limitations on shading the eyes. And I also added in here the coach as well, whether that's a special teams coach or a head coach. A lot of times we just talk to the returners, but we never want communication to get mixed up by any stretch of the imagination. So the more that we can have a conversation with the coach and the player, if something happens on the field, really, there's always, 3 sets of individuals that are hearing what's going on. So if you're telling a player, get away, you're going to kill it. Once he possesses that ball, no one is surprised, and it just alleviates the tension during the game that why you killed the play. Or if his hand goes completely high and you have to make a decision on if he's giving a fair catch signal or not, or shading his eyes, that was clearly communicated not only to the player, but the coach is aware, and we can just eliminate so much headache for just having these simple conversations before the game. And then again, once you start with your game clock operators, it's always good. We never know. Sometimes the game clocks go out, but keep it on our watch. We can do the countdown to kickoff so we know exactly how much time we have. You guys go back into the locker room. You're putting yourselves at ease before the game starts. Don't have to pop your head out and look and really just be uneasy about what's going on. So simple things for a more efficient game. Any questions there? There's not any. I'll move on to the next slide. Again, like I said, there's a lot before you even get to a play. So pre-snap ritual. I'll pose the question, and it's more rhetorical. Do you have one? It doesn't have to be answered, but you have to ask yourself, do you have a pre-snap ritual or routine? And so I think that was you, Ken, earlier to say, I lose concentration essentially when I throw a flag afterwards. Was my flag correct or incorrect? At the end of the day, that's what I'm going to be judged on. That's what the crewmates are going to be judged on, or I'm just getting booed. And so what I do is I'm so diligent with my pre-snap ritual and routine is when I do have those scenarios, and even when I don't, every snap, but even when I do, I make it and I refocus on it that much more to really just get back to the basics, counting players down the distance. So, a lot of people, you can write it out. These are some of mine here. You guys can write out a list of 5 to 10. You can make a pre-snap routine as really as long as you want it, essentially. But at the end of the day, the game is getting faster and faster. The athletes are getting faster and faster. And so our pre-snap routine may go down from, a checklist of 8 to 2 or 3. So, it's up to each individual person to really pick what is the most important key and crucial element of the game and for the position that you're working, essentially. So I'll say 2 or 3 that we cannot miss as back judge is number 1, dead ball officiate. Don't go to anything else. Don't look for a ball or really anything until both jerseys are separated. Teams are going back to their huddle, and we know that we have a clean play and we're ready to move on to the next play. So dead ball officiating is such a crucial element, especially from the back judge position because we're the deepest, so we can see everything. But then it goes down, and then the other, I would say the other 2 critical ones are to know just the down, third down, and that we need to count the defense, that we have 11 on defense and give the signal so everyone knows that we have 11 on defense. Other things that I like to think about, especially from a pre-snap routine and ritual, is my positioning and exactly 25 yards deep, maybe a little bit deeper or shorter in the high school ranks, but exactly where am I going to be positioned pre-snap and get there as quick as possible. The worst thing that I hate seeing, especially when I go out and evaluate games or crews, is an official kind of walking around prior to the snap or right when the snap is imminent, because I could just tell that your pre-snap routine, you were not focused on getting into position and really focus on the next play. So again, these are some of mine. Restricted and unrestricted players. I know the low blocking rule is a little bit different in high school football, but that's also that's pretty important in college football, anyways, to understand who's restricted and unrestricted from a blocking standpoint. So that's on there. Ken, I'm gonna pause there before we go into some mechanics and keys to see if there's any questions. I can't see the chat room, so you let me know.
Yeah, there's an official, Drew, that has a question. Go ahead, Drew.
Okay, here we go. Tyree, I got my question's about spread offense, obvious passing situations. Let's say we got 5 receivers lined up, 3 and 2, whatever, right? So my line judges have the outside guys, and that puts 3 guys inside. So I have my key. Let's say it's the slot guy on the strong side, right? And then they all go out for passes. So explain to me your thinking process and what you do with your eyes besides, watching the quarterback, which way he's watching, what as that play is developing. And who you're.
Drew? That's Drew, right?
Yes.
Hey, Drew, man, that was just an amazing segue, my man. And I don't think I could have teed that up any better than you did. I feel like can you see my next slides at all? Let me transition to the next slide, and we're going to dive into our visual mechanics, which is part of that 3-legged stool that we kicked off the call with, essentially. And so this is a standard one, and I have and Dennis and Ken, the other guys, I have this breakdown. You guys may have this as well. So a really good friend of mine sent me this PowerPoint presentation. It had like literally 10 slides, and to Drew's question on where our pre-snap keys would be. And so I think it's pretty powerful. I'll be happy to send it out to you guys. I just took 2 slides off of that presentation and added them into mine because I think it's just the simplest form. So it's double formation that many of our offenses, and I would say probably 80% of the offenses that we would see in today's day and age. And so, Drew, I'm going to circle back on that. I'll just knock this off real quick, and then we'll transition once they overload and stack one side. So really, so we're all on the same page. And Ken and Dennis, if I'm saying something that is incorrect from a mechanic standpoint, just let me know. Like I said, it's a little bit different, but it should be pretty spot on here. But if you guys have questions or if there's any differentiations, let me know. Sometimes conferences or areas may do something a little bit different, and I'll be the first to say, do what your conference supervisor tells you to do.
Yeah,
the worst thing you do is say, hey, Tyree did it this way. So
you got it.
But again, so easy, simple here. Back judge has the widest man on the line of scrimmage, or widest man in the formation. I'm sorry, let me say, to the line judge's side, and then the line judge has the next man or player in. And so that's a pre-snap routine and position standpoint. So to Drew's point or question, let's say they overload. Let's just take three receivers. That's a little bit more common as well there too. So, if they're stacked. So can you guys see my mouse? Can you guys see me moving on the screen?
You bet.
Okay. So you'd probably have a third receiver right here, and so now they're in a triangular form. And from the back judge position, I would say here is you would still focus from a pre-snap routine standpoint. You're going to want to key in on the individual who could be fouled or has the potential to be fouled, which is most important, no matter what the formation is. Because that's when you always want to understand who is pressed and who is not pressed. And so until someone is free from foul, we want more eyes on that individual. So this first receiver here in the formation, the line judge and the back judge should both be keen on the individual, because they're going to have a defender rolled up over him that's going to want to jam him and just mess up the whole trips formation in general. And he can do that as long as he does that legally, but that's up to us. And so we're both going to have two different angles to really see was there a material effect on this initial key and receiver. So that's from a key standpoint. Then so let's take them both over here. They're extremely super stacked on this side. That's the challenge, I'll be honest, of working 5-man mechanics in football is, there's not as many officials to have everyone essentially covered. So again, my first point to that would be understand who the threat is, because somebody has to be off the line of scrimmage and somebody has to be on the line of scrimmage for a legal formation. And so one of those receivers or two of those receivers are most likely going to be pressed. And that's who we are going to want to key on from a pre-snap key standpoint. And what we say at all levels of officiating is what we have to get better on is expanding our vision. We can't be tunnel vision to lock into one player and say, hey, this is my guy the whole play, when someone else is just getting blown up or decleated or getting their ass kicked somewhere else on the play. So we just got to expand our vision and broaden the horizon. So did that answer the question?
I think so, yes.
Okay. So once the play starts, obviously we have to transition to our visual mechanics, and that's from the previous thought. We have a pre-snap key, but once the snap starts, we go from man zone. So we have to watch a zone, and from the back just position, it's a little bit harder because look how you guys can see this chart, how much zone that we have to cover. So essentially we have dang near the whole field, but that's always a challenge for us because when we have the whole field, we see a lot, but that can also be dangerous because some things that we see that we probably shouldn't see, or we get to plays late essentially. So we may think it's a foul, but really didn't have all the components to have a quality foul. So it could be a foul, but we want quality fouls from an officiating standpoint. So I challenge you guys, just be careful if you're working the back judge position to really see the whole play from start to finish. So, especially in high school football, it does not hurt to take a peek at the quarterback because they're typically their eyes are going to tell us exactly where they want to go with the football. So that's going to help us narrow our zone and give us a better opportunity to see which players can be foul or have the potential to be fouled within that zone. And then again, once the ball goes into the air, all officials essentially we're gonna go to the ball and officiate that play the best we can. But we have to be in good mechanics to make sure we can have sound judgments on those pass plays. Any questions from a visual standpoint, mechanics? Any experienced back judges do anything to get themselves in quality positions, whether it's near the goal line or in line, or any question just from a positioning and mechanics standpoint?
I just wish we had set crews here in New Mexico, because I'm working with a new wing official, every week, and we just don't get to know each other well enough to be a well-oiled machine. And so I try to pregame as best I can.
Yeah, that's why we have these calls, right? It's why we get together and work on our mechanics individually, because we don't know who we're going to work with. But I'll tell you guys, or I tell everyone at every level, is so, and even in the XFL, we had someone that we thought was maybe a weaker official. So if you guys have that mindset, that's a great thing to bring up, Ken, is whether it's $45 a game or $250 a game, the philosophy is, and I know we've all said it for years and years and years, at the crew saver call or this, that, and the other, is if we go into games with that mindset, we're going to get a lot more plays wrong than right. Everyone is out there making the same amount of money for the most part, and so it is best that we focus and do our jobs to the best of our ability. So if we're a back judge, we're not going to be calling a legal man downfield, essentially. And so what we can do is, we feel like we have sometimes a weaker official or somebody we haven't worked with before, and we have to overcompensate. And so I think we've all fallen into that trap, as we mentioned before, one of the traps. So just focus on your game, officiate the best that you can for the position that you're working for each game. And so thanks for bringing that up, Ken. All right, we're time is flying. So now that we have our mechanics, we have our pre-snap routine. Literally from there, now we're just going to work a strong football game. And so again, this is another slide that I pulled off from another individual that did a high school presentation that goes through all of the DPI fouls and the holding fouls. And so I won't go through all of them, but there are 6. And the question, Ken Dennis, is face guarding legal or illegal?
As long as there's no contact.
In high school football.
You can face guard all you want. There's no contact.
Okay, perfect. So that is the same. So that's good to know. So if you don't know that, face guarding is clear as day, and I'm going to go into my next point that I have here is, if you see on both, you guys see my arrow. This one says no material restriction, and this one over here says no material restriction. So there are 6 categories in DPI: armbar, cutoff, grab and restrict, hook and turn, not playing the ball, early contact, and playing through the back. But what we want to see is the material restriction aspect of the play. Does an individual or does a defender take a step away, essentially, or prohibit a receiver from making a viable play on the ball? And then just make them, and like we've all heard, make them big. I think back, I went to watch a high school crew probably about 2 years ago now. And I can't tell you guys if it was a correct DPI call or not. But I will say after the game, had a conversation with the crew. I think it was the back judge threw a foul for DPI, but the individual caught the ball. So I just said, how much, and let's say you can have DPI. Let's not take that away. You can have DPI if a receiver catches the ball, but the appetite is way it has, super high. So it has to be huge for that to be called. So it's just a question is, was there enough material restriction to have a flag down there when this individual caught the ball? And it was literally just probably a 7-8 yard slant. Receiver caught it. The back just made it through for playing through the back. The individual catches the ball. So again, it gets to that game management that we want to be slow and patient and see the whole play start to finish. Because obviously if we see the whole play, that individual catches the ball, we can not interject ourselves. We can keep our flag in the pocket. So once we start seeing a lot of flags come out, that's when we just get in trouble from a game management standpoint and just from a flag standpoint, because every time we put the flag down, our credibility is on the line, and people can critique our calls, whether somebody's watching or somebody goes back and watches the film later on. So again, material restriction, make sure that's number one with all of the calls that we make, but especially the DPI call. Another great philosophy that I've always implored, especially at the back judge position, is was a defender in chase mode or not. So if you have one guy kind of swimming upstream or gets beat off the line of scrimmage, now he's face guarding, as Ken talked about, and there's not saying he's going to foul, but your antennas have to go up, and there's more of a probability that we can have a foul for not playing the ball if contact is made, and that contact does not have to be huge. If he contacts him before the ball arrives and prohibits his ability to go make a play on it, then we would have a foul. So, and again, you guys are all good good officials, probably great officials, and even if you're new starting out to the game, I would say these sort of trainings, getting out to the field, getting snaps. Once you get into the games, trust your instincts, trust your gut, and don't second guess those instincts, because wherever you are, you're there for a reason, and stick to what got you there and build upon that. And once we start second guessing it, that always gets us in trouble. Ken, anything in the chat? Anything I missed?
No. Do you guys want to? I have a couple of questions for Tyree, and we're running out of time, but I'll let somebody else jump in first. Feel free, guys. Now's your time. Okay, you spoke about patient flag. You have a DPI. You're processing. Receiver makes the catch. That's something that has to be. That's a seasoned veteran holding his flag, watching the play. Your instinct is to throw on it when you see it, but I've been working on it. It's getting more comfortable. How long did it take you to master that?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't think there's no kind of set answer, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. The best answer for that, Ken, honestly, is snaps and repetition. So I would challenge everyone out there. I know this is a different environment that we're in now, but really just love the game and spend as much time as you can on the field, whether that's just in a simple practice or in someone's passing drills, whether they're going just one-on-one, really so you can start to understand and what's a foul and what's not a foul. And so, Ken, my answer to that is just snaps and experience. And so you want to get out there, see a foul, okay, let's just see the whole play. So it's one breath, two breaths, okay, now I have a foul. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else?
Nothing
So
in the
Ken, I'll touch on OPI. I think it's important, and just honestly at every level, just to be blunt, we suck at OPI. All officials, we care who it is. Our crew, I think we had 2 incorrect calls right off the bat for offensive pass interference, and we're not calling that anymore. And so I sucked at offensive pass interference for a long time until somebody came along, and that's why I didn't even put the categories up here for offensive pass interference. It doesn't matter. So I will let you guys know offensive pass interference, if you can simplify it, this is the easiest way to simplify it. Was the offensive player creating an advantage for himself or for a teammate? I'll say that again. Creating an advantage for himself or a teammate. So if that individual runs downfield, blocks, comes back, the ball doesn't get thrown to him, the ball goes up somewhere else. To Ken's point, snaps and repetitions, we're going to see that. Oh, that was only pass interference. Quarterback throws it to the other hash. That's a great opportunity for us to go up to that receiver and say, hey, if that ball comes to you, that's a foul, or you created enough separation from that defender that would be an offensive pass interference. The other one is a pick play. So it's for a teammate. So he, comes across, tries to bump out, blocks another player or defender. So his teammate is open for a pass. That should be a foul. I was thinking way too much for categories like an arm bar thing. I wanted to place OPIs into different segments of category until I just figured out, to Ken's point, experience. Okay, I see a lot of fouls here because the offenses try to get trickier and trickier. But when can I decipher when the heck do I put my foul flag down or not? And so those two things is just really advantage, disadvantage, and it's a good reminder for us. So, Ken, I'm sorry, I thought we were going an hour and a half. I'm going to skip through, go straight to the questions. Could dive back into my experience or whatever you guys want to talk about. But just an overview, managing the game overview. Be great dead ball officials. So plays during the play or calls during the play, we're going to miss those. Some of them don't even have to be called, but the ones that are always going to get in trouble, they're always going to get on a highlight call or get to the AD or whoever, are those targeting fouls or the safety fouls, and especially those dead ball late after the hit action that are clearly avoidable and that we clearly cannot miss as officials. Again, reminders, play clock, game clock, back judge, be all over it, stay all over it, be great at it. And then the last thing is get the big ones.
Oh, man, it was a great presentation. We in our other, in the CFO calls we break down stuff a lot more, and we spend, 15, 20 minutes on one play. So I wish we had more time, but I'd love any of you guys out there that have a question for Tyree, please. Now's your chance. Ask a Big 12 official. Okay, we got a bunch of shy ones on the line today. Tyree, If any of you guys need to follow up with Tyree, get a hold of me. I'll give you his email. Totally accessible. Was gracious enough to jump on doing this webinar with us tonight. It's recorded. I guarantee you, back judges from all over the state, when we start having our state clinic and it gets closer to, kickoff, hopefully we'll have a season this year. We're going to make sure all the back judges around the state watch this webinar. So, Tyree, you're the man. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, Ken, it's Sean.
Hey, Ken, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I was going to, while Tyree's still on the line, is it possible to get a copy of the PowerPoint that we can share with other back judges that might not, maybe at one of our association meetings?
Sure, not a problem.
Yeah, you can send it to Ken and just copy the PowerPoint would be great.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
I'll also say this: Ken knows how much of a I soak up plays. So I'll throw it out to you guys out there. As he mentioned, feel free to get a hold of me if you want to send me plays. Dive into them together. We could talk about mechanics, rules, positioning, whatever you want to talk about from a play standpoint. I always feel like it's always good to see ourselves on film. That's why I'm leading the call that Ken has jumped on. And other back judges are more than welcome to jump on those calls as well. They're bi-weekly. But I love just watching ourselves work, because we can watch, NFL games or whoever else, and we may not put ourselves in those positions. So, it's always good to say, I'm in this position and how can I get better? So if any of you guys want to reach out to me just to work and try to get better, I'll be more than open and happy and willing to help. So with that, Ken, Dennis, thank you guys. Kudos to everything that you're doing for the game of football and for the game of high school football. It means a lot.
It means more to us, man. I appreciate your time. Your time's valuable, and you gave us some. So thank you, Tyree. Thanks for everybody. And Saturday morning, we've got Dennis, I'm sorry. Remind me who we got coming Saturday morning.
Got Tom Ballard. He's the commissioner of the New Mexico YAFL officials, and he'll be talking about 4-person and 5-person keys on formations. Tyree, appreciate your time. I learned a lot. I learned more of what Ken does not know about back judges. So I thank you, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks, Tyree.